are you doing
Hey
a
everyone, I'm Jenny Robertson, founder of the On Purpose Woman Global Community and founder publisher of On Purpose Woman magazine. I'm here to share the speaker portion of our Connections Over Coffee gathering of the On Purpose Woman Global Community. Actually, I said Connections Over Coffee. It's evening. We're at Connections After Hours. Our speaker today is Sandy Travis Bildahl, and she's talking about Bravery Becomes You on the road to fearless and free. Sandy is a certified emotional intelligence and business coach, author of the bestseller Bravery Becomes You on the Road to Fearless and Free, and an inspirational speaker. She believes that when bravery becomes you, emotional struggles that are not aligned with your true self are replaced with the joy of feeling alive, satisfied, and content. Awakening your own inner compass makes direction to the future clear and reveals a life you love. The power of stories to create life-transforming change, as well as deep connections with others, has been Sandy's passion throughout her 20-year entrepreneurial career. She loves the wonder of adventure, being scared and living brave. And you can see Sandy's website in the text of this live. So Sandy, welcome. Thank you.
well, it is so great to be here. And I love the subject of bravery, and I love the passion and the excitement that comes when you really step into thinking about what you really want to do. And the frustrating part of that is that all that wonderful energy sometimes gets sabotaged or lost just because of the busyness of life, or just whatever is going on. And so bravery to me is the magic ingredient that keeps who you really want to be at the top of your list. And so tonight I want to talk about bravery, which became the subject of my book, Bravery Becomes You on the Road to Fearless and Free. And it's a journey that began for me a few years ago, and it really changed my life. And so I'd say a few years ago, I was just at a point in my life where I knew I wanted something different. I don't know if it was second half of life or, just wanting a new story, but I really felt stuck. And I would look back at the first half of my life, and I just thought there's just something that's not resonating about that as I move forward. I feel like I'm kind of dealing with an expired mindset, and I really need to find a new way to move forward into what I was thinking of as this wonderful frontier of possibilities where I really just did not know how I wanted to move forward. And what was interesting at the time is that I had already thought of the idea of bravery becomes you. And so with my coaching clients, it's something that they loved and that we talked about all the time. And the question, what would you do if you are brave, often was the spark for their passion and their energy, and the push to take action and really do something that they wanted to do rather than just talk about it. And so finally, I got to the point where I thought, well, why am I not asking myself that question? And so then that is what I did. So I asked myself, what would you do if you were brave? And at that moment, my 24-year-old son called and said, hey, Mom, want to go on a 6-week camping road trip out west and sleep in the middle of nowhere in my 3-man tent? And I said, absolutely not. I have never camped in my life. This was not the brave adventure I was looking for. It was way out of proportion, for bravery. But I was intrigued at the same time. So I said no, but I did what I always do. And I researched with all my friends, what do you think? And so the basic consensus was, you won't like it. Why would you want to do that? It's uncomfortable and you're too old. And I was like, no, I'm not going to go for that too old thing. Not yet. And so, but I can remember standing in my living room and just shouting at the walls, like, I do not want to go camping, but clearly something was bothering me about it. And then one day I got my hair cut, and the young woman cutting my hair answered my same questions. And she said, I would give anything if someday my son asked me to go camping. And, there's nothing scary to me about what you want to do. And as a matter of fact, if I could do that right now, that's what I would be doing. And I thought, wow, that's how I want to be. I want to be excited about my life. And so I went home and I called my son and I said, yes, I'm coming. And that yes was so exciting. I felt that surge of bravery and of passion, and it was just so wonderful. And then to deal with my fears a little bit, I'm very good at rationalization. So I thought, well, let's see, I'll make this an experiment. I'll test my theory that bravery overrides fear. And maybe I'll throw in it's the ultimate business trip, now I got a nice, neat package so I can feel comfortable. So then I did again, with my research, I started researching all the places that we were going to go on this trip. And then one day my son called and I said, oh, I just got all this stuff I got to share with you. And he didn't like anything I had to say. And then he told me what he was thinking. And I thought, oh, I don't like anything he's saying. This is way too big. And he wants to go do things I just don't want to do. And so he hung up the phone. And at that moment, I felt so relieved. Thank goodness I do not have to go do this. I didn't realize it. There's too much stress. And then within a little bit, I felt regret. And I thought, what happened to that? Yes, I love that. I don't want to go back to stuck where I was. This is what I really want. And at that moment, having an opportunity to really feel how that, feeling of what if I did this and what if I don't, is something I'll talk to you about later. But, it's also something that so often when we say yes to what we really want, something happens and no comes along, and, sometimes we just let it go. But in this situation, I didn't want to let it go. And, my son called me and all of a sudden now we're back on with the trip. So I'm researching again and, I'm all ready to go. And so the day comes and I'm on my way to the airport. And in the car, I realized I don't have my purse. So now I never leave my purse at home, but went back and got my purse. Now I'm at the airport and I check my bags and I go through security and I don't have my license. So I went through my purse a million times. I took my purse. I sat down on the floor. I was practically ready to cry. Emptied my purse out on the floor. No license. So then I went back to the counter. Nope, they hadn't found a license. And just as I was going to say, this must be a sign that I am not supposed to be brave and go do this, someone said, oh, no, here it is right on the floor under the counter. So now, okay, that was great. Now I'm ready to go. Here, everything's good again. And I go through security and I'm looking up at the sign. I'm going to Portland, Oregon. It says Portland. And I go down to my gate and I walk down the ramp and someone calls out, are you going to Portland, Maine? And I said, no, I'm going to Portland, Oregon. What is going on here? And so the plane was leaving on the other side of the airport at exactly the same time. So here I am running through the airport. It was summer. It was hot. My bags are banging against my legs. And I thought, oh, I had that seat that I wanted. It's a long flight. And sure enough, the seat that's available is the middle seat in the back of the plane. And I sat down and I thought, is this another sign? Like, this is just getting ridiculous. Life is saying, don't go. And just as I was thinking that, I started talking to the people next to me. They were so nice. And they were going to one of the first places we were going to on this trip. And they weren't scared. They couldn't wait to be there. They had a guidebook that they gave me to read. And I just thought, oh, okay, well, here I am again. Now I'm ready to go. So I was really ready at that point. And so I got off the plane and there's my son in his car, stuffed with blankets, pillows, nothing high tech, maps, cups, you name it. And I thought, I don't even see where I'm going to put my suitcase in this car. And, I don't even see where's the place for the mom going camping. And anyway, got me all set and in the car. And then to add to the picture of us about to be on the road, I always like to think, imagine also a 24-hour-a-day Grateful Dead serenade, and that's us on the road in this hodgepodge of a car. So now we're off. And so here we are with the big camping question. And as I also said to my son all the time, this is public lands. I am not used to drive down a road, pick a spot, pitch a tent in the middle of nowhere. No bathrooms, no showers, no internet, just us and my fears in this 3-man tent. And, it's like, are you sure this is safe was my mantra. And, as it turned out, it wasn't comfortable to sleep on the ground. So, my son Travis, he would pile blankets on my side of the tent until he had almost none. But then, could he protect me from the bears and snakes that roam at 2 a.m. when nature calls, just me alone under the stars? And there I was, unzipping the tent and flapping my flip-flops to get rid of all the, scorpions or all the things that might be out there. And, but I definitely survived that. So this was 6 weeks nonstop traveling through 7 states as I came face to face with the truth that I didn't like, which is that I have a story of fear going on in my head all the time. I am judging everything every minute, even in my day-to-day life, about, do I want it? Is it safe? Is it good? Am I worried? And so I realized I have a fear problem, which, as I like to say, I was always glad to wake up alive. And, in the morning of camping, that we weren't mauled by bears during the night or something, but did it matter that there was sand in my sleeping bag, or my shoes were sopping wet, or I was about to wear the same clothes that I slept in? At a certain point on this trip, I had a new question, and that was, could I wake up scared every day and love it? Did bravery maybe feel good? And I was about to find out. So first thing would be, is a lake a shower? I hadn't washed my hair or my clothes for a week. So freezing cold water and no soap, how does that work? And, what about no makeup? Was bravery my new shade of foundation? Did I look okay as plain old me? And then there's our itinerary. We had none. We followed Travis's on-the-spot research and advice from people we met wherever we went. And I always wanted to have us be behind waving a flag that said, please don't tell them anything's interesting. We'll have to go there. And so, finding ourselves on the top of a mountain in hurricane force winds, gripping the side of the flapping tent, hoping to live long enough to take the next day's rigorous hike that someone said you can't miss, or finding our perfect campsite just as it got dark from a recommendation at a gas station. And then it was, am I afraid to look silly? I found myself marching down the main street of Telluride with hundreds of people in the mushroom parade chanting, "We love mushrooms." And this would have been a definite no for me before. But now I really wouldn't have wanted to miss that. And so at that moment, I realized, or I began to think, how much of my life have I missed by just saying, no, I don't do that. I'm not going, that's not for me. And just not even thinking about it, just saying that. And I also realized that everything that we were doing, and even looking back that we did, there's nothing that we did that I would want to have missed. And that's the good parts. And that's the scary parts, like the many times our car tires crossed the crumbling edge of narrow roads, really with steep drops down, where I either cried or got out of the car and walked. And of course, Travis was like, well, Mom, just close your eyes. And, or, when I saw the tree that had fallen 10 feet from our tent, yes, and we could have died. But, we're already in the car, my hair whipping around in the wind, windows open, eating gummy bears, and yes, singing to the Grateful Dead. And there's the pushing past what's comfortable on our day trip from the highest spot in the US to the lowest, 117 degrees, possible heat stroke, and Travis pouring a bottle of freezing cold water over my head. And then, of course, there's also being with my son 24 hours a day for 48 days, giving up a mother's control as he showed me how to live fearless and free, even if it meant driving 11 hours to hear a band in a bar. And so, I had to say to myself, why am I making all this fun so difficult? Fear is exhausting, and it's often not even true. And here was Travis, hungry for experience, while I was on the no diet. No risk, no, I don't like this. No, I am not sleeping next to a no trespassing sign, which we did. And so anyway, this all just kept going on. And, so you wonder, was there conflict? And my words, take me to the airport, I want to go home, sums it up. But at that point, I had also realized that challenge and conflict are opportunities to practice bravery. And the more you're brave, the more you really want to be brave. And if you're brave enough, eventually bravery becomes you. It becomes who you are and how you live your life. And so to me, my experiment was a success. And I learned that bravery does override fear, even if fear is whispering in my ear with words that scare me. I learned that the real risk in life is not taking a risk. And I also know that I want to wake up brave every day, no matter what. And I also learned that life is really like a road trip. And when bravery is your GPS, then every day is an adventure in being who you really want to be and, being true to yourself. And so in the end, to me, one of the biggest things is that nothing feels better than being brave. And it's just such a wonderful way to live your life. But that's not it, because then there was the side of everything of coming home. So, just like coming home from any vacation, and I know for me, I always feel like, how can I hold on to this good stuff? And I know all this stuff is waiting for me to do. And I don't want to lose this great feeling. And that's how I felt about this. I didn't want to lose this wonderful feeling of being brave and loving adventure. And then I realized, but if life is like a road trip, that was just one piece of a road trip. My whole life is like a trip. And I want every day to wake up scared and love it. I want every day to wake up and say, how am I going to handle whatever comes my way so that I can still be who I want to be, and that life doesn't just pass me by and I miss all the things that I really want to do. And so I thought, well, I want life to be a road trip, and I think my road trip needs a little adjustment. And that at that point, I realized I have two others in this adventure with me, and they do not get along. And that is fear, who would love for me to be safe and, just do nothing, and bravery, who really wants me to live a life aligned with who I am, that's passionate and excited and growing, and fear does not like that at all. So I really felt like I'm in the middle of this wrestling match, and I really don't know if I want to be a referee. So I then realized the simplest thing is I need to be the driver. And I also realized that for most of my life, fear has been my personal chauffeur. And fear has been telling me what to do and warning me and speaking quite loud about it all. And I'm very used to that voice of fear. And here is bravery now that I've gotten used to listening to. And bravery speaks nicely and speaks from my heart and wants the best for me and wants me to, feel passionate about what I'm doing in life. So now I know I'm going to be the driver. I've got these two voices talking to me. And the fear voice basically says, okay, in this drive, we're driving directly to the comfort zone where you can put your feet up and do nothing. And while that might be a good rest stop on your journey, after a while, doing nothing doesn't feel good. The comfort zone is actually extremely uncomfortable. And there is bravery now saying, well, let's drive over here because I have a new destination I think you'll like. And that is the brave zone. And I really love the brave zone. And to me, it's really a mindset of, a place where you can try things on for size, where you can cheer yourself on, where you can you can be proud of yourself no matter what happens. And it's a place where failure is about learning, and where challenge opportunities are about practicing bravery. And the discomfort that comes from change, which always goes with change, is that, that it's a sign that you're on the right track. It's not a reason to retreat and go somewhere else and give up. It's really, and I have that sometimes where I think, oh, I'm feeling so uncomfortable about this thing I really want to do. And I think, well, what if it's really exactly what you want to do? And that nervousness is you wouldn't feel nervous if this wasn't something that meant something to you. You just wouldn't care. And so that really, in the end, is the lessons that I learned from my trip. And what I, and so now I know that the Brave Zone is my favorite place to be, and I know that fear also has a place where it wants to be. And the last thing, let me see what time it is, I wanted to leave with you is um, a discovery that I made that I use all the time for everything in my life, and that is my Get Brave compass. And it really goes back to the beginning of my story when I had the opportunity to feel what yes felt like and what no felt like. And this is something I also used during my trip where I was, like, do I want to walk down this hill and get mud all over my legs and swim in a swimming hole where I have to crawl across something with bees on it, and but it's something you don't want to miss. And so I would do this where I would pause and maybe even close my eyes, and I would imagine doing it, and then I would imagine I don't do it. And I know at that one circumstance, I thought, I don't want to go home and have missed this and said, oh, you go in, I'll watch you. That's good enough for me. I don't need to do that. And I had learned that I don't want to miss these things. So whether it's cooking dinner and saying, should I cook a dinner from scratch? Or, should I, just go get takeout? I can feel how I can close my eyes and say, how do I feel if I see myself cooking dinner? And how do I see if I feel myself getting takeout? And I often get the real answer that I want from me. And my clients use it, my children use it. My daughter will call and say, oh, Mom, I just used your Bravery compass and I made a decision. And it's something you can use for the rest of your life. And it's not always about taking brave action, but it's being brave enough to listen to yourself and trust yourself. And that's what bravery really is about, is saying, I hear what I want, I know who I want to be, and I'm going to be true to that. And I'm going to listen to that inner voice. That will be my guidance. And that really is what the compass is a way to find your direction with your bravery GPS. And so I hope that compass can help you. And I'd be glad to talk to anybody further about I have a lot of other tools and advice and things you can use to keep yourself on that bravery track. But it's just don't forget that nothing feels better than being brave and being confident enough to really honor who you are and who you want to be, because nothing feels better than that. So that's it.
Sandy, thank you so much. And I want everyone to unmute yourself so we can applaud. Sandy can hear our applause. So 1, 2, 3, unmute, unmute so we can hear you. Now we're going to clap. We're clapping out loud. Yay. Woo-hoo.
Great.
Thank you, Sandy. And I want to thank anyone else who's watching this live or the replay. If you'd like to join us for one of our 11 free Zoom gatherings a month, or an in-person in Richmond, Virginia, Charlottesville, Virginia, or our new meeting starting in Tallahassee, Florida on November 6th, comment below and I'll tell you how to do that. You can also go to my website, opwgc.com, and find out all about our community. And if you want to share this video with anyone, it'll be up on our YouTube channel in probably about 24 hours. So thank you again for watching.